Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
I disagree with some of the laws that are being pushed in Congress that are against the LGBTQ community and the trans community.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You take people and you put them under the spotlight, and you.
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to come up here. You voluntarily came to the front of the line. You didn't have to do that.
All right, let's dive into this exchange featuring Charlie Kirk, a well-known figure in conservative circles, especially on college campuses. Kirk has made a name for himself by engaging in heated debates with students, often tackling some of the most contentious issues of our time. Whether you agree with him or not, there's no denying that he's a seasoned debater who knows how to hold his ground. Before we continue, I'd like to ask for a quick favor. If you're enjoying this content, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of our viewers watch without subscribing, and while it's free for you, it makes a world of difference to us. Have you hit that subscribe button? Awesome, thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the video. So, what happened in this particular interaction? Picture the scene. Kirk is standing on stage, doing what he does best, taking questions from the audience and challenging the ideas they bring to the table. A student steps up to the mic, clearly nervous but determined, and kicks things off with a question that's more of a challenge than a genuine inquiry.
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself?
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids? Now, this question is loaded. The student is essentially accusing Kirk of picking on younger, less experienced debaters, something that, if true, could make Kirk seem like a bit of a bully. But Kirk doesn't take the bait. Instead, he flips the script with a simple yet effective question.
Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm a registered
so
voter.
I vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
By asking this, Kirk shifts the focus from his own experience and age to something much more important, the fact that both he and the student are voters, with a say in the future of the country. Now, this move is classic Kirk. He's not interested in debating someone's age or experience level. He's interested in engaging with them as fellow citizens. By framing the conversation around voting, he positions himself as someone who's not just there to score points, but to have a meaningful dialogue about issues that affect everyone. The student, perhaps caught off guard by Kirk's response, admits that they initially thought the event was some kind of improv comedy thing. This comment reveals a lot about how surreal or even absurd these political events can feel, especially to someone who isn't used to such confrontational discussions.
Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
Actually, when I first saw this ad, I thought it was like an improv comedy thing. It looked so ridiculous that I didn't even think it was real.
But Kirk doesn't let this slide. He uses it as an opportunity to make a serious point. This isn't a joke. The issues being discussed are real, and they have real consequences. He points to Trump's popularity on campus as evidence that these issues are far from trivial.
Well, no, you could see. Look how popular Trump is on your campus. How does that make you feel? That's not comedy.
Next, the student accuses Kirk of pushing a dangerous agenda, specifically mentioning abortion rights. This is where things could easily escalate.
Is there something wrong with talking to voters?
No, there's nothing wrong with talking.
Well, that's
to
what we're
voters.
doing here today. It's an open mic.
I think that you push a dangerous agenda.
Such as?
Your stance on abortion rights, for example.
Here we go.
But Kirk stays calm and collected. Instead of getting defensive, he asks the student to clarify their understanding of the Republican stance on abortion.
Okay, so
Let me ask a question. What is your name?
Jean.
Jean. And what is your understanding of the current Republican Party's stance on federal intervention in abortion?
It's a smart move because it forces the student to move beyond vague accusations and into the realm of facts. And this is where the conversation gets really interesting. The student correctly identifies that the Republican Party wants to leave abortion laws up to the states, a point that Kirk acknowledges.
Well, I know that they want to bring it back to the states, right?
So it sounds like you do know that the Republican Party's current stance on abortion is they're against a federal ban on abortion.
I do
And we're
understand
talking
that,
about a
yes.
presidential election as the
Yes.
important election that we're talking about here.
I understand that, yes.
But he doesn't stop there. He pushes the student to engage with the substance of the issue, asking for specifics about where they disagree. This is a key moment because it highlights one of Kirk's strengths as a debater. He's not just interested in winning arguments. He wants to have a real discussion about the issues.
We got a long line of people, but I want to hear from you one substantive area where you have an authentic disagreement, and I'd be glad to address it. I'm sure Charlie would too.
Just in any
Anything.
political...
Relating to any political topic where you have a disagreement. Let's air it.
Okay.
However, this is where the student starts to falter. They mention concerns about laws that are supposedly targeting the LGBTQ and trans communities.
I disagree with some of the laws that are being pushed in Congress that are against the LGBTQ community and the trans community.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
But when Kirk asks for specifics, they struggle to articulate them. It's a critical moment because it underscores the importance of being prepared in these kinds of debates. It's not enough to just feel strongly about an issue. You need to know the details and be ready to back up your arguments with facts. Kirk then lays out his stance on trans rights, drawing a clear line between the rights of adults and the protection of children. He's all for adults living their lives as they see fit, but when it comes to kids, especially in schools, he believes there should be boundaries.
If you're a fully grown adult, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want, dress how you want, marry who you want if you want, if you're
Okay.
over the age of 18.
I agree.
But you are not free to indoctrinate children in schools who are not yet of the age of consent.
This stance is likely to resonate with many people who are concerned about what they see as the overreach of certain progressive policies, especially when it comes to children. Kirk's argument here is that while adults should be free to make their own choices, those freedoms shouldn't extend to influencing or indoctrinating children. The student agrees with much of what Kirk says, but still feels that he's not fully grasping the implications of certain laws. This is a crucial point because it touches on a broader issue, the complexity of how laws are interpreted and applied. Laws that might seem straightforward on paper can have far-reaching and sometimes unintended consequences, which is why it's so important to discuss these issues in detail.
And so the lines that I draw here is that men are free to claim to be women and swim in swimming pools. You're not free to claim trophies in a women's sports competition. You're not free to enter a women's locker room, you're not free to change a language, and you're not free to actually indoctrinate our children who are under the age of 5 in schools. Do we agree on the fact that adults should be able to live freely while still treating children differently? If so, we're on the same side of this issue.
Listen, I agree with the majority of what you said.
But instead of diving deeper into this complexity, the conversation shifts back to criticizing Kirk's style. The student accuses Kirk of antagonizing people and intentionally putting them on the spot.
I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You take people and you put them under the spotlight and you...
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to come up here. You voluntarily came to the front of the line. You didn't have to do that.
You're purposely antagonizing people on campus, asking
How?
people to come up by spreading your weird agenda.
How? What agenda is that? I'm confused, though.
Kirk, however, isn't having it. He points out that the student chose to step up to the mic. No one forced them. This is a public forum, and the whole point is to engage in debate, even if it feels uncomfortable or confrontational at times. Kirk's not there to make friends. He's there to challenge ideas and provoke thought. The student then brings up a point that's incredibly relevant in today's media landscape.
I think that the issue is we're getting our media from different sources. Both people are getting media from these skewed sources. The facts that you're presenting are not always correct.
The fact that people are getting their information from different, often skewed sources. This is a big deal because it highlights the echo chambers we often find ourselves in, where we only hear the facts that align with our beliefs. Kirk acknowledges this issue and points out that face-to-face interactions like this one are crucial because they allow for real, unfiltered conversations. In a world where so much of our communication happens online, often through the distorted lens of social media, these these kinds of in-person dialogues are more important than ever.
And that's why we're here with no TV screens between us. So people who have policy-based substantive disagreements, we invite those. I think that's how we're going to get our country back.
As the discussion winds down, Kirk reiterates his stance on trans rights. Adults can live as they please, but when it comes to kids, there need to be boundaries.
And as it relates to trans, which you brought up, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want. You're not free to force that onto somebody else, or especially kids.
He's clear about his position and emphasizes that finding common ground is key to making progress. He's not interested in endless arguments that go nowhere. He wants to see actual solutions that everyone can agree on, at least to some extent.
And if we agree on that,
you
we
very
make
much.
some progress.
Thank you. Disagreements, yeah.
So what can we learn from this exchange? First, it's a reminder that if you're going to step into a debate, especially with someone as experienced as Charlie Kirk, you need to be prepared.
Look, I disagree with,
It's not enough to just have a strong opinion. You need to know the facts, understand the details, and be ready to defend your position with clear, specific arguments. Second, this interaction underscores the importance of real, face-to-face dialogue. In an era where so much of our communication is mediated by screens, these kinds of in-person conversations are invaluable. They force us to listen, to think critically, and to engage with ideas that might challenge our own. They remind us that behind every headline, tweet, or soundbite, there are real people with real concerns, and that meaningful dialogue requires more than just shouting our opinions into the void. Finally, this exchange highlights the value of focusing on substance over style. It's easy to get caught up in how someone delivers their message, whether they're confrontational, sarcastic, or just plain intense. But at the end of the day, what really matters is the substance of what's being said. Are we discussing real issues? Are we willing to listen to different perspectives, even if we don't agree with them? And most importantly, are we open to finding common ground, to moving the conversation forward in a way that's productive rather than divisive? If you take anything away from this interaction, let it be this: debate isn't just about winning, it's about understanding, about challenging your own ideas as much as those of others. It's about being open to the possibility that you might learn something new, or at the very least, come away with a deeper understanding of where someone else is coming from. And who knows, you might just find that you have more in common with your opponent than you initially thought.
listen, I agree with the majority of what you said.
And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. Plus, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Charlie Kirk handled this well, or do you see things differently? Drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going.